Good morning, team, and happy Monday. Mr. McCarthy here again with, I guess, the first in the next two parts around this subject of creating breakthrough results through collaboration. And, you know, we've talked about trust, we've talked about scale, we've talked about perspective, and there are two more topics that I'd like to cover here, and they're very related, but I think for the sake of the length of the videos, I'll break them up into two more parts. So today I just want to cover decision making, and we'll kind of wrap that up with a conversation about the difference between agreement and alignment, and then next week I'll go further into that important subject of the difference between agreement and alignment. So decision making. I have a little quote here from Will Rogers. Even if you're on the right track, you'll get run over if you just sit there. Right? It's all about making sure that we're moving forward and really striving for those breakthrough results. So one of the most critical skills that a good leader can develop, and it is something to develop and practice, is the ability to make good decisions. Sometimes there's no such thing as the right decision, right? You want to really strive for making, good decisions. Good decisions commit resources, time and money and energy and many things to the projects and the results that we're trying to achieve. So it's really, really important that we make good decisions, and that we have to make good decisions in a timely manner. That's really one of the most important things, as well as the relationship between that decision making and the time that we invest in doing so. And a lot of people think that there's just decision making. They don't realize that there are different ways to make decisions, and we tend to think that everyone has to agree in order for something to move forward. Not necessarily the case. In some situations, it calls for one method of decision making over another, and I just want to kind of talk about what those really are, because not all methods will be successful in all situations. And there are three key methods to decision making that I can break down really, really simple. I've distinguished them in these three kind of different models: when they're useful, when they're not useful, what they establish, and importantly, what they interrupt. And then try to become familiar with these three models, put them into practice, recognize when to use them, and it really does make a big, big difference. So the first one is, again, the decision-making method of authority. The purpose of authority is it sets direction. It makes critical decisions. It's really useful for setting strategy, dealing with emergencies, and often people-related situations. So it could be hiring or firing or promoting or developing. It tends not to be useful for what I call co-creation, and really not for breakthrough results, because it tends to miss the collaboration. What it establishes, though, is clear direction and the boundary, the field of play. And importantly, what it interrupts is indecisiveness. And sometimes you just got to put that into play in order to be able to interrupt that. So the first is authority. The second is agreement. The purpose of agreement is really resolving differing points of view that are in compromise. It's really useful for bringing about resolution through problem solving. It's not necessarily useful for generating those kind of future-based ideas in co-creation and partnership. But it establishes the most sort of common denominator as a basis for decision-making. And what it interrupts is confusion and misdirection. So sometimes you need to apply it when you see that happening. Maybe in this particular context, the most powerful, so you've got authority, you've got agreement, maybe the most powerful in this context is alignment. And the purpose of alignment is to create futures that go beyond what the past indicated was possible. Really useful for co-creation and generating the freedom to take action and making sure that others are contributing. It's not useful, though, for decisions that require authority and fast agreement. Clearly, it establishes partnership and buy-in and ownership and committed relationships, and it interrupts compromise or even unintentional or intentional sometimes experience or force or domination by authority. So it can be very, very powerful. Recognize these three decision-making methods: authority, agreement, and alignment. Recognize their purpose, what they're useful for, not useful for, what do they establish and what they interrupt, and when to apply them. Becomes very, very powerful, simple set of tools. And next week I want to talk about the difference between agreement and alignment. They are very different, and it's very important that we recognize why. So that's it for today. As always, if you enjoy the video, if you think it's useful, please put it into practice. Hit like, hit subscribe, share with anybody that you think might enjoy it, and I'll speak to you next time. Thanks.